Welcome back to Loan Officer Success Partner. And you know what? We always find the coolest people, way cooler than me. So I appreciate you guys joining in and getting past me for some of these great guests, because today we've got Ashley Bedford from Aptly down in Orlando, Florida. And she does business a little bit everywhere, but let's talk about the business, because 1%, top 1% in the U.S., top 100 in the state of Florida. Like, I don't even know how I wrangled her in, but welcome to the show, Ashley. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here and share some things with all the people out there.
Oh, so excited. And, you know, the people are excited to hear from you if they haven't already, because you're out there doing some amazing things. Like, you know, again, I hate talking numbers because, you know, we don't have to, right? We've heard your report card, but at the end of the day, there's other people out there that want to know, how do you do that, right? So we'll go over some of that stuff today. But first, let's get to know you a little bit. I know you're in Orlando. Is that where you're from originally?
I am not. I'm originally from a small town in Oklahoma, Enid, Oklahoma, and then I spent my latter years in Ohio. And then I met a boy who I'm now married to 21 years ago.
Very
and
cool.
Moved to Florida when I was 18. And actually, I didn't have a car or anything. I just hopped on a plane and like flew here. I'd never met him in person or anything.
Wow.
I don't advise doing that. He could have been a serial killer. But I bought a bike with the $150 I had, and I rode my bike to 2 jobs for a year until I could afford to buy a car. So
That's awesome.
it was definitely an adventure. And now that I have an 18-year-old, it sounds terrifying.
Oh, just absolutely insane, right? Like, you did what, Mom? Like, how did you make all this come together? So it sounds like an episode of How I Met Your Mother, right?
Yeah. Well, and my 18-year-old, she loves all the time. Like, anytime I question her decision, she's like, "You moved here when you were 18 on a plane and never had seen Dad's face before." And I was like,
So don't tell me what I can do.
Yeah. So it's definitely different.
No, that's crazy, but super cool, right? You know, because again, you went on an adventure to figure out where you needed to be the whole time. And if I heard that right, you said Enid, Oklahoma. Is that it?
Enid, Oklahoma.
I'm pretty sure I've been through there and near there, because I'm from Kansas originally. I live in Texas. So, you know, we border Oklahoma last time I looked.
Yeah. And Tinker Air Force Base, that's what it's known for. If the Air Force Base leaves, they're going to be a ghost town. So
it's all over for you guys. So praise at the Air Force stage, right? And then you set up to Ohio. What were you doing up there?
My grandparents raised me from there when I was in high school. It's where my mom's family's from. And so I lived there through my high school years. And
then you said it's way too cold, and there's a really cool guy in Florida. So I'm going to hop on a plane, buy a bike, and here we are today.
Exactly. Yep. I was going to be a pharmacist, actually. And I was going to go to University of Toledo. And I was like, yeah, this sounds way more fun.
Well, you know what? You're doing great things for people, and we're super excited to have you in this space, right? You know, we need good people in the mortgage industry, and you're one of the great ones. You know, you're one of the great ones. So let's talk about that, though. So you get down to Florida, and you got your bike, and how do you transition that into becoming a loan officer?
So I worked at like Target and a local barbecue place.
Okay.
And rode my bike to the 2 places, and then decorated people's house for Christmas at night. But then, you know, I got pregnant with my first daughter.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can't do this forever, you know? And so I got my first job at Washington Mutual, making $10.25 an hour. And, you know, I really thought I had made it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after I had her, I went into a little bit of commercial banking in a small residential bank, and made $16 an hour. So I really thought I had made it at that point.
Baby. Banking.
Yeah. And so, but then when I went to buy my first house, being on the commercial side, you still don't really get that education of like what your credit score looks like. And I wasn't really raised with that either. Had a relatively rough childhood. And so really didn't have that support and background of that.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was figuring it out by myself. So my husband called a rather large mortgage company. And he said, let's try to buy a house. Well, they told me for a $189,000 house, I needed $30,000. Well, I'm like 25. I don't have $30,000. And I know most of the 25-year-olds out there.
$16 an hour.
Don't. Yes.
Up until recently, riding a bike to work, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Apparently, I dressed the right colors today because I'm wearing red and white, and you're talking about Target, right? So I am the bullseye today. Yeah. So someone told me an astronomical amount of money, right?
Yeah. Well, and someone told me, and I'm thinking like $189,000. for a house, that's like a lot of money, even relative to that, right?
Yeah.
And so I called a mortgage broker that somebody had told me, and I said, I walked into a house with $13,000. I sold my first car that I actually bought because it's like 5 years later.
Yeah.
Sold my car that I bought.
Yep.
Literally had cash laid out because we know that cash is a bad four-letter word in this
Yes, it's
industry. So
scary.
I had cash laid out
Where
with
did
the
it
bill of
come
sale
from?
in front of it to verify it.
I'm
And that's how we
selling
bought our
this
first
car,
house.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we became a one car family for 5 years. And so
Mm.
then I decided we bought one more house with her and I was like, I think I could do this. I called actually to be a processor and she's like, no, you're too good. Like you have to be an LO. Like you'll be
Yeah.
really good at this. And then I was like, great. And I hung up the phone and I told my husband and he's like, that's a commission job, right? And I said, no, just kidding. I'm not going to do
Yeah.
this
What did
because
you
I'd always been
do?
paid by somebody.
Yeah.
He'd been in sales his whole life, but I'd been paid by somebody. So I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not doing this.
You were the
And
stability, right?
instead, I did. And so what I did was I packed my kids up. We lived in Pensacola at the time. They'd moved us there for his work. And I moved in with my mother-in-law into one bedroom with two kids, two dogs, and a cat. And my husband stayed in Pensacola and worked until I could get my feet on the ground.
Mm.
And the company I went to, I said, I want you to pay me this draw. That's it. Don't pay me a dollar more. Even if I'm
Yeah.
crying in here, don't
Yeah.
pay me a dollar more because I need to be so hungry for this that I'll go make the money. And
Amen.
so then I just thought, well, you can turn around and there's a loan officer in Florida because it's the easiest state to get licensed in.
Right.
And just because you're licensed doesn't mean you should be doing loans. And so, but I was like, well, maybe if I just call some title companies, because you always hear that things are horrid. Like everybody hears, oh my gosh, a mortgage, that's got to be the worst process. This is worse than a root
Mm.
canal.
Yeah.
And I heard about all these people like getting declined, like on these Facebook groups, like right prior to closing.
Right.
And I thought, well, who's the first action to that? And it's title companies because they're not even calling these realtors first. The title companies are following up with them and finding out. So I just started calling saying, hey, if you have any of these scenarios, could you have the realtor have their buyer call me? Let me just see if I can help them. Let me see if I can make it work. And so I did. And then finally I got one and I closed it in 10 days on a manual underwrite, which was tough.
That's tough.
And so it was tough. But I did it in that it was almost like a high, like that I could accomplish that. To be honest with
Right.
you, it was really adrenaline
Pull it
rush.
off. Woo. Yeah. I got to do that
And
again.
it didn't matter what I made. I know that sounds so cliche, but it was like I got this person into a house. And so that
Yeah.
was from then on out. I probably didn't get an approved eligible for the first year of my career.
Really?
So
Yeah. So you started off with the rough stuff, right? Hey, you know
yeah,
what? Title companies, I'm sure you guys have clients that don't make it to the closing table for some reason or another.
yeah.
You're frustrated real estate agents that were behind those transactions. Hey, tell them you know a gal, right?
Yeah.
And that happens to be you. And so you cut your teeth on all the most difficult, which by the way, I always talk about this. Where do we learn the most in our life? Is it from the easy stuff or is it from the really hard stuff? Right. In
Yeah.
fact, I had a conversation with one of my loan officers today who has his first USDA loan where the client has 3 rental properties, each of which is privately mortgaged. And he just came out of a divorce where his 1099 income from his real estate job was going through his wife's 1120S, and he has no access to that business anymore. Right. Congratulations. You're in the mortgage industry. But
Yeah.
you know what? Is he learning something right now?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Baptism by fire is like I call it. Baptism by fire. You'll never forget. I promise you.
I love that. I love that. So, you bump into the industry with some really difficult loans, but you get known early on as somebody who can get it done, and not just get it done 10 days later on a manual underwrite, and you've got this client into a home, right?
Yeah, well, and I think, we talk about technology and everything, but honestly, I think that I learned the most because we didn't have that. I mean, really, it was a time, if you think even 10 years ago, it was a time where you had to email your AEs and ask them the questions, like to get the answers. So I would literally blind copy every AE with the full scenario and say, can you do this? Like we were still pricing rates on a rate sheet. There was no automated thing to like price a rate. And so I think that was an advantage over having the technology we have now to learn. I went through every Control F became my best friend um,
I love
on
that.
PDF. So I
You didn't
just
have Chat
did
GPT
it.
that you could just drop the guidelines in and say, where is
There
this
was no
at?
chat, nothing like.
Yeah. Yeah. So the
So
original chat was grab a PDF, Control F for the
yeah,
scenario you're looking for, and hope that you can go through 10 sources instead of 134 to get to the answer that you're looking for. Right.
absolutely. And if
Yeah.
they told me I could, like, then it's in writing. So you're not going to go back on me because I'm going to show you the receipts in your email that
Boom.
you told me I could do this. So don't embarrass me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's huge, right? Because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, how did you get here? Good old fashioned hard work. You rolled up your
Yeah.
sleeves and you said, I'm going to leave no stone unturned, or as we like to say, no loan unturned, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to get to the
Yeah.
root of the problem. And if there's a way to get this thing done, I'm going to get it done. And
Absolutely.
so now you've got agents that believe in you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I always say Orlando's the smallest big town ever because the word started spreading and I just started getting referrals. And then my next little thing is I found that transaction coordinators get paid the least amount of money, and those are real estate
Mhm.
transaction coordinators, the people that are sending out the email, and they're doing a lot of work, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, and they're making like 250 to 350 a deal. Well, you got to do a lot of deals to make any money. And so
Yes.
I thought,
And
well,
hold on, I want to rewind that too. You're in
yeah,
Florida. You
yeah,
got to do a lot of deals to make $250 make ends meet.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Rent on average is like what, $2,500 here now? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And so I thought, well, if I could take the burden of their follow-up off. So my team knows that if a TC is following up, we are not doing our job. So make sure that you're doing your job because I'm
Yeah.
not going to be happy if you're not. And so that's a big thing is like I want them to know when they get the file, their first thing is Ashley, great to see you on this file. And title companies
Yeah.
should be doing the same thing. So I get a ton of title companies and a ton of TCs that says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you on the file," because they know they don't have to worry about it getting to closing. And I think that's important because I have a reputation of my letter being gold. And I always have
Yes.
people ask me, "Can you just give me a pre-approval with no documents?" No. Mm-mm.
Thank you for saying that, right?
Yeah.
Because I've had this conversation with a lot of people, right? I've been in the industry for 23 years and I've
Yeah.
I've trained and managed a lot of people. And at the end of the day, I've had a lot of folks out there that want to put out a loose pre-approval because the agent wanted it quick, and it was exactly that, and they get egg in their face after the fact. And what you're saying right here is, hey, let me tell you how I got here, right? Like how I become top 1% in the United States of
Yeah.
America is by getting known as somebody who doesn't do that, right? Who's not going to put you in a situation where you're out there shopping with a client that may or may not qualify once the
Yeah.
contract comes home, right? So
Yeah.
take a page
And
from
I'm not
Ashley
doing
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think that getting to the top is going to be giving the agent what they want, sometimes what they want isn't what they really need, right?
Yeah.
And you build a relationship off giving them what they need, right? Hey, I can give you what you want, but I don't do that. And here's the reason why, right?
Yeah, and it's
It,
okay if they decide like I've in the beginning of my career I was probably much more emotional and it's easy to be emotional when you're like struggling and feel like the fear of like, okay, where's the next deal coming from? Because ultimately, like I've done deals for free. So I don't focus on the paycheck because the minute you start focusing on the
yeah.
paycheck, you're out. And I know a lot of people will say that are new, like that's easy to say, but I feel like I've always been like that. Like I've
Mhm.
done deals for free in the beginning of my career if it made sense. Like if it meant that because it underappraised, I needed to lower my comp a little bit, that's what we're doing. Like we're gonna do
Yeah.
whatever. Listen, I've made mistakes and had to eat my comp because I'm closing the deal. Okay.
Right.
And so whatever that takes, and I think that as long as you focus on what's right, everything else will fall into place.
We talked a little bit about this in the green room the other day, and I share the same value as you do with that, right?
Yeah.
Because what I know and what I know you know as well is that when I make that deal happen, that client or that agent starts to talk to other people. And that's not why we do it. We just do it because
Yeah.
we care about our people. But this what happens. They start to talk to other people and they're like, look, there was, Ashley made something happen that nobody else could have gotten done.
Yeah.
And they're right, because most people would have said, nope, there's no money in this. I'm walking away from it. And that homeowner didn't become a homeowner because of what?
Yeah.
Greed, right? And I know we're
Exactly.
not doing this pro bono, but again, I've seen the amount of transactions that you close in a year. And at the end of the day, I promise you guys, if you're listening in, she does pretty well. So, so at the end of the day, the money comes behind that by doing things for the right reasons. And this is what you become known for. And it's not, hey, I'm going to give up money on every loan. It's just, if I make a mistake or if I've got to do what it takes to get this one done, we're going to do it because it's the right thing to do.
100% every time, because otherwise you're just another LO out there, and anybody can reach out to an LO. So
facts, and at the end of the day, how do you stand out in your market?
Yeah.
That's how you get, you're known for, right?
Yeah.
This is who I am. So let me ask you a question, Ashley, because we talked a little bit about scaling before we jumped in here. And, again, I know it's never perfect, right? Nothing is ever perfect in this industry because there's so many moving parts. And I think that's what, if you're an outsider looking in, you happen to be not a loan officer listening to this podcast and you're going, what do they mean? Get in the industry and you'll figure it out. Every loan is a challenge, except look, there's some easier ones, but those are the ones that help you get through for all the other ones, right? And there's so many different touch points that have to happen on every single file. When you get to the level that Ashley's at, you can't do it by yourself, right? So the first question I want to ask you is how did you know what point to hire the first person to help you? How did you know where that pain point was? Okay, I got to do something because this isn't working. When was that, and how did that work?
So I was at the same company for the first 8 years of my career, to be honest with you. And I remember sitting during COVID, and a lot of people always talk about COVID. It was a lottery. Okay. It's never happening again. Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
Not in our lifetime, probably. But I remember I'd go home for a few hours, eat dinner with my family, and come back at 1 a.m. And I closed my most loans ever. I closed 321 loans on Calyx. So I should just get an award for that.
Amen.
Really didn't have any support, but my assistant at the time, she was also my cousin. She brought me a Starbucks in for my birthday, and I was and she got laid off because everyone in the health field got laid off during that time.
Yep.
And I was like, "Do you want a job?" And she absolutely did not want a job. Okay, she did not want to be in mortgage. She somehow stuck with me for 4 years.
Yeah.
And just recently went back to her healthcare field and her dream job. But she helped me really just analyze the paperwork. I still qualified everybody. She wasn't a true LOA of qualifying people, but just picked up some things, and that really supported me and helped me. And then when I left to come to Apley, what was most important to me was having good culture. And I came here because of the culture, and I came here for the things that I was weak in, because I don't want to run compliance. All people always say, why don't you open your own business? Because that stuff's boring to me. I want to close deals, right?
Yeah.
I'm a really good A- player.
Right.
And so, and I knew culture. So I called one of my previous account executives and I said, do you want to take a chance with me and open your own processing company? And so he's like, but I don't know everything. And I said, well, I'll teach you what you don't know. So he became my processor. My assistant came with me and did my social media and really grew that. And she still does my social media on the side, which is great.
Yeah.
But that's the team that I have. It's amazing. I was and coming here has been great because they know technology and I just don't. And I think people expect because you're under 40 that you just know technology, and it's not my strong point. So I knew I needed to find spaces that had stronger points than what I had, because I can close a deal and I can teach people to close the deal, but technology was not my thing.
Yeah. Well, I think what I heard you say was when business got overwhelming, you just took the first able body that you trusted. They didn't even have to have experience in the industry. And look, maybe that's the right way to start, maybe it's not. I'll give you an example. During that same pandemic, the team that I was leading, we were closing 300 to 350 transactions a month. And we were taking able bodies at that time, right? In fact, Jennifer, who's helping us with the podcast right now, Jennifer was one of those able bodied, no experience in the mortgage industry whatsoever, right? But she was a family friend of somebody that I knew, and she came very highly recommended. Hey, look, Jennifer gets stuff done. And guess what? She's still with me today, and she learned everything that she needed to know about this industry because we trained her, right?
Yeah.
And, that's what you basically did. You said, look, I'm at a point where I can't keep going and get it all done. I need somebody. I need somebody I trust. I'm just going to grab the first person that I know I can trust who doesn't have work right now, and I'm going to bring them in and have them start. And what did she do, right? So you brought her in. What was her role when you first brought her in?
Doc review and really just following up with clients to say, hey, why haven't you sent your documents yet? Things like that.
Chasing paper.
Setting appointments for me and things like that. That was the most important thing for me.
Yes.
Because I don't have time to chase people. And one thing, and a lot of LOs work differently. So some LOs, they just bring the business in and pass it on. That works for you.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work for me. Like I love to I just want to double check the file. So everything goes in, input, and then I double check it because that's my name on that letter.
Yeah.
And that's important to me. So another thing that was important to me too when coming here is something they didn't do is I also wanted to lock and register all my own files because I felt like that was important. You can disclose them afterward, but that's my paycheck, right? Like I
Yeah.
think that's important. So there's some things I still control, and then there's some things I'm really behind on technology. Like I literally keep a whiteboard for my pipeline. Like it is a visually stimulating like ADHD thing that
Yeah.
helps me every day. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of people keep a pipeline in a computer, but for me, my brain can't even comprehend it at the moment.
I grew up on a whiteboard. You know, I used to
Yeah.
have a whiteboard. I literally would utilize it. Every transaction went up there. I knew what status it was in based on where it was or what color it was, right? And I knew which
Yeah.
ones were on life support and which ones weren't. And there was a lot of dry erasers and then rewrites. You know, but at the end of the day, what it does do is it gives you a bird's eye view right there in your face when you walk through the door, when you walk out the door. These are the people that are important to me right now. And
Yep.
these are the people I'm taking care of. So, you know, I do use a CRM now, right? But I do
Yeah. And I
understand the
also have that.
concept. Yeah, right. Yeah. I would imagine with the amount of clients that you have to have that. But what you also said is I'm not a technology person, and so I needed to hire people that did these. So let's talk about that real quick, guys. When you are not great at something and it doesn't make money for you, right? It needs
Mhm.
to be done, but it's not a money-making activity. This is where you get to start farming stuff out. So it's like, look,
Yeah.
I'm going to do these things whether I like them or not because this brings money in, right?
Yeah.
But these things over here, they have to be done. But there's somebody out there that absolutely loves this stuff and I suck at it, right? So that's who you hire. You hire the person that you can bring in to take the stuff that you suck at that actually loves the stuff that you hate, right? And they do that so that you can stay focused on what I like to call money-making activity.
Yeah.
Is that accurate, Ashley?
You have to do it at home and at work. Like, I think that's the
Mm,
biggest thing. You have to do it at home and work. Like, I'm never, like, I tell my husband all the time, I will go work at McDonald's to keep my cleaning people. Okay. I
yeah.
am never wasting a Saturday not with my kids to clean my house. Okay.
Amen.
I can go make way more money in that they're so fast. I mean, they can clean
Yes.
my whole house in an hour. It takes me the whole day. Like, they're great. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
And like, it's just hire the things out. Like, I don't have time for those things. And so you have to hire the things out. Make your life easier so that you can make more money and help more people.
That's big money advice right there, guys. And
Yeah.
again, you know, that's talking about inside and outside of the office. I feel the exact same way because effectively there's a lot of things that I could be doing, but are they actually producing income that allows for me to generate more wealth, right? And I could
Yeah.
spend a fraction of the cost over here, hire somebody that's great at it, that does it way better than I do, right? And that way I can focus on the things that are most important.
Well, and a lot of people talk about balance, especially women. I feel like they're talking about, oh, I got to balance. I got to balance. There is no such thing as balance. There's
Mm.
priority in the moment. So, like, for example, right now, my email is probably blowing up. Okay. But I need to be on the podcast. So
Yeah.
you can't balance that, right? Like, this has to be the priority in the moment. Same thing. If I'm on a panel, I can't answer my phone.
Yeah.
If I'm with my kids, watching my kid, like, my daughter does equestrian sports, and so if I'm watching her, I'm not on my computer. But guess what? When she's on a break, I'm on my computer because now that becomes my priority. And so you're failing yourself by thinking there's such thing as balance because
Yeah.
you just have to figure out what's priority in the moment.
I love that. Well, and it's actually a perfect stopping point because I was going to say, I'd love to keep you here all day, but I know how your calendar looks, right? And at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you've got people out there that need you. So, you know, what did we not tackle today that we should have? Because I think we could probably talk for a couple of days with all the stuff that you know about, you know, how to create great success in your industry. But what did we not tackle today? What should we have said?
You know, I've had the question asked of me before, like, what would I have done earlier in my career? And again, newer LOs will tell me it's easy to say now, but if I could tell the person that started 10 years ago this, I would have fired a lot more people a lot quicker and I would have been less emotional about the deals I didn't get because I wasted so much time. I wasted so much time chasing people that were just like constantly chasing the shiny penny themselves
Yeah.
that I could have nurtured relationships up front.
Amen.
I got way too emotional instead of educating myself on how to retain clients like that were shopping me. And so I wasted so much time in that emotion. And so I know it's easy to say, like another LO said to me the other day, she's like, well, that's easy to say when you have the next thing to go to. And, but I honestly, I feel like if I could go back and tell 10 years ago, I would have had even more business by
Yeah.
doing that because you just get so focused on like, let's just be real, we kiss the rear ends of realtors, okay? Like it's what we do.
Right.
But there's a point where it's like, this is exhausting. Like
Mhm.
if you can't see my value, then I need to exit the room.
That makes so much sense. So have your
Yeah.
non-negotiables and know, when it's time to walk away from a relationship,
Yeah.
because there's other relationships out there where you may really, really get along and really enjoy that person's time. And
Yeah.
if you're going to focus that much time and energy, focus it on working with people that you know and you like and you trust, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's important. And I would have done that way earlier in my career because I like to be friends with the people that I work with. And you are the five closest people to you.
Yeah.
And so make sure that that circle is good and bringing you up because otherwise you'll get stuck in the downtrend. We can talk about what a bad market this is right now, but it's not. Look at the positives.
Yeah.
Listen, it's great market. Let's keep going. Let's tell buyers that it is too, because it's not bad. First time home buyers have more opportunity to talk down, get seller concessions, get
Yeah.
lower prices. It's a great market.
Well, I talk about that all the time, right? The best market is to buy is the one where you need to buy, right? If you don't need to buy, don't buy. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, if you reverse this back to, the COVID times when rates had dropped to a ridiculously low point, purchase prices went up. So what was the Achilles heel there? Well, you spent 30, 40, 50, 100, 150,000, 200,000, $250,000 more on a house to buy it. And a lot of the times when
Cash.
folks were getting things that they didn't want, they didn't actually want the house. They had to buy quickly and had to make decisions that they actually didn't love. And we're in a market right now where you actually get to pick the house. You may be able to negotiate. It's not like, hey, I got to come to I literally, when I sold the house, I had somebody come with their bank statements, pictures of the family. They canvassed the neighborhood to talk to all the neighbors, to ask the neighbors to accept for me to accept their offer. They
Yeah.
waived, contingency, waived title, or paid for I mean, literally, it was like, and I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
well, okay, I'll sell you the house. If you want it that bad, you got it, right? But now it's the exact opposite. The seller's most likely going to give you concessions. You can use those
Yeah.
concessions to buy down the rate. The price of the house is not going to cost you more. And more importantly, the home value is going to go up 5.5% on average per year. So the house that you're waiting to buy because you're looking for rates to come down is only going to get more expensive. And then if rates do get better, 1 million plus people will jump back to the market and you'll go
Yep.
right back to the old pattern and pay more for the house, but you got a better rate. So
What is it?
if
1% rate is 5 million people to the market. That's huge. Like first time home buyers are going to get cut out again. And they're the people that need the houses the most because
they
rent on
are,
average, for example, in Florida is like $2,200 to $2,500 a
yeah.
month. So
Yeah.
it's
And
huge.
there's programs out there for you too, right? So if you're a first time home
Yeah.
buyer, there's there's state assisted, but there's also
And
other
especially in
TDs.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
you've got
huge.
plenty.
We
Yeah,
got Hometown Heroes coming back in July. So
you
it's
do.
great.
You do.
Yeah.
And if they
Great.
don't have that, I'm sure you're signed up with the other, proprietary
Yes.
DPA programs that are out there that
Yeah.
work at any time of the year, where you
Yep.
can truly get into a home with no money in pocket right now. So, if you are a home buyer, get educated. We're not saying go out and buy a house. Get yourself educated. Reach out to Ashley and her team. They're going to give you great advice. And Ashley, we know you're in Florida, right?
Yep.
Specifically Orlando. What other markets do you serve?
South Carolina, Texas, Tennessee, Ohio, Michigan, um, hmm, Illinois. So I have a few different markets. I mainly do referrals in the area and have family in those areas. So,
There it is.
but have made myself very knowledgeable in those areas to make sure I'm servicing the best I can. So
I love it. And when they want to find you, we know you're with Aptly. How do they find you? What's the best way to get in touch with Ashley Bedford?
on Instagram, Ashley the Mortgage Magician, and you'll find all of my information there. And also, I do some market updates as well in there. So, really great information. And then they can call me too at my cell phone. I'm always available to call, text 407 394 9488. So, it's the best way to reach me.
Boom. And if she rattled that off too fast and you're watching, it just rolled across the bottom of the screen. But if you're listening in, just jump down in the description. We'll make sure that we have all that information down there so that you can find Ashley. And you definitely should. Again, she's a 1%er for a reason, guys and gals. It's because she gets it done. And that loan you think you can't qualify for, I'm pretty sure I know somebody that'll find a way. So, Ashley, thanks so much for joining us today. May have to do a part 2 on this one because I know there was a lot more to say. But
thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. Hey, and guys, go over there and make sure that you follow her, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and forward this out to 3 people that you know right now that need to hear it, right? 3 people that are saying, hey, I need to buy a house. Or if you're a loan officer and you're going, man, how do I get successful? Send it to the people that need to get successful. They're going to hear something that Ashley said and go, oh, I can do that. Yes, you can. So I think that's a wrap for our show today. Thanks for joining in, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thank you so much.